I had this idea that I wanted to take the actors on the same journey that the Balibo Five had gone on, and that one of the themes of the film, you know, is the power of this nation to demand that its story be told. You know, that Greg Shackleton's famous piece to camera, you can see that he went from a moment from having great ambition as a journalist to caring about this country quite profoundly. And so I'd seen that these men had been affected by the country. So with the actors, they arrived in Dili and they came to the Turismo Hotel. We filmed in the Turismo Hotel, which is actually the hotel that they really stayed in the 70s. Pardon me. And they arrived at the hotel. 20 minutes later, I was filming scenes with them. So they were still having the kind of culture hit of arriving in Timor. At the time, the refugee camps, the heat, you know, the nature of this different place. And that served their performances really well. And then going to Balibo, I actually just threw them in the back of a four-wheel drive and, you know, they drove to Balibo, and along the way we'd film stuff. We get to Balibo, they stayed in the house that the Balibo Five slept in the night before they were killed. The actors actually slept in that same house the night before. So there was a whole philosophy of trying to create an environment where those actors actually did follow that journey to give it some little bit of magic. And I think that certainly helped inform the film in lots of ways.
With the film, we always set out to have a film that we never, as an audience, we never witness anything in that film that Samson and Delilah don't. You know, they witness it at the same time we do. Whatever happens to them happens to us at the same time. So, you know, the landscape was the only time we really sort of cut away from them, or in time, in a sense, you know. We have a shot of the sun coming up, and then we have a shot of Samson waking up. It's the only time we leave the kids. And so that it kind of does become that character in a sense. It's the only, you know, when anything happens to them, it happens real time to the audience. They don't know that there's going to be a car coming. They don't know that, you know, you don't get a cutaway of the police car coming over the hill and then you cut back to Samson, you know, that sort of shift in time. But we do go away to the landscape. It's the only time we leave them in a sense. So it does feel like a character. And, you know, filling it full of sound, you know, flies and dust and atmosphere, always sort of, you look, when you've got landscapes without people in them, you start listening rather than looking, in a sense. And then if you've got people in the landscape, you start looking rather than listening. So it's a weird thing, but that's the way it works.
Tennessee Williams sort of stuff is definitely what I was going after. You know, the patriarch and the heat and the fans going round and the sort of, you know, the incestuous fucked up sexuality that was going on. I was definitely going for that territory. Yeah, so, yeah, you thought it had a sweaty look, good. No, I guess my response to that is, look, there are films definitely that want to reach a wide audience, but there are also films that go out there that do Australia very proud. I mean, what Samson Delilah has done with Cannes and all the festivals and the perception of Australian film out there, that is a huge, you know, capital for us as a nation, that we can produce films like that, and we have storytellers like that, and we have country like that, and we have filmmakers like Warwick. That is an enormous capital. And, you know, and the fact that you were at the London Film Festival in Toronto, and we were at Toronto, and we're going to Palm Springs, and Blessed was at San Sebastian. I mean, we are representing Australia finely. Now, we're not reaching the audiences that we would love to be able to reach, and I don't know what we do about that, really. It certainly doesn't help this negativity that's being spun out there, and it's painful, frankly, and it's nasty, and you wonder where it's coming from. It's overwhelming when all you've tried to do is reach a level of excellence out there to be, you know, pissed on, frankly.
When people say, why doesn't Balibo do as well as Transformers? You're saying, well, why didn't I sell a whole heap of Big Macs? You know, and no one's saying that there's anything wrong with films like Transformers. It's just that, much like the restaurants we go to, it's great to have a whole diverse range of home cooking and McDonald's. So, I don't know. It's an interesting equivalent in the publishing industry. It's interesting mentioning Kate Grenville's novel. the publishing industry is really interesting. No one expects in the publishing industry that every book has to sell like a Tim Winton or a Bryce Courtney, you know. And yet we value those great works of Australian literature that only have a small audience. And I think we have to start valuing our artistic endeavour, whether it's in cinema or in any area of the arts, across a diverse range of scales, and not fall into that very American trap of assuming that huge commercial success is the answer. So, and I think what you've seen this year is a range of films, which is what's so exciting. You've got your big commercial films and you've got your smaller, you know, kind of more boutique cinema.